but the wise listen to advice. Okay? How many of you have ever thought that your way was the right way versus going and getting some advice? For example, you thought that you knew how to make a pound cake. So you just went out and brought you some regular cake mix and called it a pound cake. But people who know pound cakes, who know the different types of cake, that are experts, know that that is cake mix and that it's not made from the flour cake mix. Okay? They know the difference. They know the difference between that box and the actual cake flour. Okay? So it seemed right to you to do, but when you tried to fool other people with it, it didn't work out that way. Instead, you seem foolish trying to fool people with that cake, trying to act like you cooked it from scratch, a pound cake, but you didn't. So the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. Let's go to verse 16. Fools show their annoyance at once, but the prudent overlook an insult. You know, whenever you don't take time to assess your feelings and what's fitting to come out your mouth and how it's going to affect people around you, how it's going to affect you, yeah, you're acting like a fool. You're acting foolish, okay? Verse 17, an honest witness tells the truth, but a false witness tells lies. The thing about unhealthy habits is, if you get to the point where you have to create a lie in order to sustain who you are, in order to keep a relationship, in order to keep a business going, in order to pay your light bills and stuff, in order to put food on your table, that you got to sit up there and lie, you know, you're still being foolish. That is creating an unhealthy habit. That is telling your mind it's okay to lie, cheat, and steal to get your way through life versus going and asking for help or some type of advice. You're taking something that's not yours. You're taking food out of another person's mouth because of your greed. All right? So an honest witness tells the truth, but a false witness tells lies. And lies can become an unhealthy habit. All right. The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. The only way you're going to bring healing to your situation is to stop using your words so reckless and start obeying, being more obedient to the word of God. All right. Okay, let's see. Verse 19, truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment. Verse 20, deceit is in the hearts of those who plot evil. In other words, is when you allow yourself to get taken out of character, then you start acting like the evil person. And as women of God, we've got to learn how to respond better to allegations. We got to learn how to respond better to our children. We got to learn how to respond better to friends and family. We got to learn how to be the bigger person in situations that we encounter in our life. All right, so now that we got Proverbs out the way and we know the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. You know, God gave us our feelings and emotions for a reason so that we could be able to consciously in our doing. Be conscious in our doing, in our well-doing. But when you don't exercise your conscious gift of God, your God-given gift to discern your behavior, it turns into using unhealthy habits to cope or to get your way. Okay, I need a water break. Y'all, let's water break. All right, y'all, I am back. I tell y'all, this air is so dry. I really need to get a humidifier. Okay, so God has given us that gift of emotions for a reason. And it is so that we can consciously, know what we're doing, know what we're saying, so that we don't have to create these unhealthy habits to replace what we're supposed to be doing in the first place. God has given us the opportunity to be aware of our feelings. Then you remember the definitions? It said that we are conscious. Our emotions are conscious. Not to be foolish, but wise, and make wise decisions that will give us longevity and peace of mind in our life. So knowing the levels of your emotions will help you to identify when you're about to do something foolish. Now, y'all know how he is. We'll do something foolish in a heartbeat. Or if you just don't know how you feel about certain situations. Some of you just confused, and you just need to sit down and write it out. And look at it good and see what you can learn about your situation, before you go doing some foolish things and creating some bad behaviors. I know good church women who got offended in church and didn't know how to respond to it. So they ended up back on the streets because they thought that they had to feel bad and leave the whole church just because a couple of people were acting foolish. But they didn't have to do that. If they would have only had that mindset, that godly mindset, that would have said, get you some advice, baby, before you leave. Before you leave any kind of way and don't have no kind of spiritual covering or spiritual beings in your life, talk to me. They didn't have that, so they ended up on drugs and stuff. Ended up out here doing drugs and not trusting anybody at any church now. And now, the saying is very popular, church hurt. And church hurt is a real thing. It is a real thing. People are hurting people. And I think we're seeing so much of that right now. In 2021 is just beginning, and we are seeing so much destruction in the church already. So you can't say that there's no such thing as church hurt when church hurt comes from the people that attend the church. Okay, so assessment. Excuse me, y'all. Assessment. So what I've done is I've came up with a coloring code for your emotions. And I want you to write this down because it's going to take a little minute, but please write it down on how to assess your emotions, to see where you stand at in the faith, to see where you are at emotionally before you get to the point of jumping outside of God's will, before you get to the a point of becoming your own seem right in your own way person. So this color coding, it'll give you a little understanding as to where you are at and what level you're at so that you can identify your triggers and threats and de-escalate it before it comes to the point of you creating a bad, unhealthy behavior or habit. Okay, so it's just like when you go to the hospital and identify your pain level. They say, what's your pain level? Are you a 1, you're okay, you're living, you're doing, you're fine, you don't really need a doctor. Or 10 is, this is the worst pain that I've ever had in my life. So it's kind of like that. When you're in a crisis situation or just the everyday stress, the stresses of life every day, I want you to think about these colors that I'm about to tell you about. I want you to think about them. And hopefully this can help calm you down and to remind you that you are conscious of what you are doing. That's what the definition said of emotions. It said that you are conscious. It did not say that you're not conscious. You're conscious. Okay? So the first thing we want to do is gather up our triggers. We want to gather them things up because we need to know who's triggering us, why they trigger us, and all that stuff. So in your own free time, that's a good time for you to sit down and just write up some things that upset you and why do they upset you and what you can do to avoid these things upsetting you. Okay, so our first color code is going to be white. It means that I need more information. You need more information. It means that you're not sure how you feel. You're confused. You don't know what's really going on or how you really feel. It means that I'm having mixed emotions because I don't have enough information about this situation or crisis at hand. And lack of information is a trigger for some people, for a lot of people. And let's go back to that reminder of that scripture, Proverbs 12, I think it was Proverbs. Let me go back and see. I don't want to tell you wrong. Proverbs 12:15. Let's go back to what that was saying. A fool's way seems right in their own eyes. So you need more information before you can start making a decision about how you're supposed to feel and how you're going to react to a certain situation. You need that information. You have to respond to the threat, but not act on it because you don't have enough proof. That means if you respond to the threat that's going on, for instance, say like if you got a phone call saying that somebody hit your car outside. Okay, so you know that your car is hit, but you don't know how much damage is done to your car. It could have been an easy little tap or bump that's barely even noticeable. But before you know it, you done got so upset and triggered. Now you're running out the door and asking people for cigarettes. You're asking, people to give you this and that. You're running into your bad habits because you feel like you're triggered enough that you got to have it. You got to have it. Okay. And I'll tell you something else. That's another good example of women responding without having enough information. And this is a good one for you women in relationships, or either single women, maybe single women that are, really thinking about dating a certain person. These are the women who suspect their man is cheating, or have a woman, or they have another woman involved in the relationship. Who feels like wait a minute, let me get it right. This is the example right here. When you feel like that man is cheating, but you don't have no proof that man is cheating, so all of a sudden you see one little thing and it's a hair bow, and it could be his mother's hair bow, but because you see it, you feel like this man is cheating, so you don't have enough information. So now you got emotions going on through your head. These are the mixed emotions and confused emotions in the white color. You angry, you sad, you bitter. And you wanna feel some type of relief. You kind of feel relief because somebody said it might be his mom. So you got all those emotions going on at one time, but not enough information to be responding to using a unhealthy habit, such as going out and getting mad and going to hit his car. I know in traditional past that your mama might have used to do that, but you don't have to do the same things that your mama used to do. Your auntie may have used to do that, but you don't have to rely on that same coping manner as your auntie and your mother did back in those days. Another example is a woman in the church who feels like everyone is picking on her. Some women get in church and feel like, they're just not good enough, but they don't realize that they already have low self-esteem. It's not that they're not good enough, but this is what they're feeling. They feel like people are whispering. They're very paranoid. Feel like people are whispering and talking about her, but she has no proof of that. So she's responding and reacting, and now she's church hopping. Okay, so that's an unhealthy habit that women have. Church hopping. Trying to find that right church where you can find the perfect people. Listen, ladies, that's not going to happen. But that is something that we need to address. Because you got mixed emotions. One minute you feel like they love you, and the next minute you feel like they don't care about you. But that's a you problem. If you did not ask them to find out what was going on, then that's a you problem. You got to find out what's going on with you and your emotions. So you're in the color white. That means you're kind of acting. I don't want to say it's ignorance. I don't want to call it ignorance, but I want to say you're acting out without having any proof. So you're just confused. That's the best I could put it, the nicest anyway. You're just acting confused. Okay, the next color is going to be yellow. The cold yellow means awareness. This is a very good place to be in life. If you get to this point in life, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble, a lot of heartaches. You're going to save yourself a lot of emotional drainage and damage when you're in cold yellow. Cold yellow means that you are aware. You're very much aware of issues that are around you. And more than that, you are you are self-aware of the issues that you